After 10 years of racing, I've accumulated quite a few videos of me driving various cars that I don't own, and some that I do. But over that time, I've collected quite a bit of footage of things when it's gone wrong, and I've never really consolidated that into one video. So here's my sort of top 10 moments where it went wrong or almost went really wrong.
It understeers really easily, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, it tracks really, really green.
Well, they're awesome cars and stuff like that, but yeah, it's just really, especially now it's starting to rain a little bit. Yeah, so be extremely careful.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good thing we're not counting lap times.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, mate. It's actually better when it's raining, to be honest.
I went out there just to tick off a bucket list item, given I'd never driven a GT3 car and I'd never driven at that track. But after a couple of laps it felt really good, so I started leading on it, and the instructor recognised that I was getting into the groove and reduced the traction control. Unfortunately, I got used to using quite a bit of throttle and it was starting to rain, so it didn't end too well. So while it looked pretty harmless bouncing across the grass, I ended up breaking the front splitter. And for anyone that's not in the industry of GT3 parts, the front splitter at the time was a retail cost of $16,000. Thankfully I only broke the mounting point, so it cost a lot less than that. But I actually went out on this experience skipping the insurance. Now while the insurance is in excess of 40 grand, it shows how quickly things can go out of your control. And so if you're ever going to do something like this, I'd recommend having insurance. So the second moment I've chosen is when I got to drive Gary Love's Route RT4. I'd spent the Saturday helping him out, trying to figure out how we could make this car work a bit better. And then on the Sunday he just offered me to go out in a race, so I happily accepted. As you can see there on the outlap, which is the only time I had to figure out the car, I was just pushing the limits a little bit. I knew I could take it through here pretty much flat, so I did sort of 80% throttle through here, knowing that, yeah, that confirms it should handle like alright. Then I started to weave, and while it won't look like a big deal now, I was at pretty much 45 degrees to a concrete wall with full lock left on a warm-up lap. And I don't know how embarrassing it would have been to stack it into the wall, but I wasn't far off it. Because these cars have all the weight in the rear, you can't actually carry that much angle compared to a road car. So that's my moment number 2. Now for these next 5 moments, they're all early on in the piece when I was starting to get to grips with my Swift DB4. These first 3 being from a really early weekend. Now in this one, I'd put on the old tyres but used tyre warmers, thinking that would be just as good. But by turn 3, it just fell off the track. You can see the tyres are hot, like they're steaming, but there was zero grip. The car literally just fell off the track, so thereon after I only put good rubber on the car. This is also from the early on weekend, my first sort of introduction to how people just don't see you coming. Yeah, unfortunately I caught the back wheel on the grass and spun it around. But it was a good excuse to do a little bit of a burnout on the track to spin it back round, just once I let all the traffic come by. Oh yeah. so I put the good tyres on for the same weekend, and I was starting to do reasonably well, but I hadn't got the confidence to pass people under brakes yet. It didn't stop me almost taking him out though. As you'll see in slow motion, I got really far up underneath the rear of that car. I almost beached his tyre on my front wing. Wouldn't have been a good look for someone new. And then this one is where I rub wheels with Tony Quinn. Now you see the front tyres just touch there, but they're actually wider at the rear. I don't have a rear camera, but I can guarantee you both his front and rear wheels, the sidewalls were completely rubbed off. Which in a single seater, that's pretty much moments away from disaster because they tend to fly up into the air when that stuff sort of happens. But Tony Quinn isn't alone. I've done the same thing to Kenny Smith here. I had a pretty good run on him onto the straight. And I thought it wasn't that bad until I checked the rear view camera. Yeah, there's a bit of tyre smoke come off. Again, not that far off being launched into the air. This moment, oh my god, this is when the brakes stopped working. It wasn't that bad the first time, like I just flew off the track, but I rejoined and everything felt good. So I thought it was just some sort of weird thing that went away. So I started a next lap thinking everything was good. I think I even pushed a little bit harder, and yeah, the same thing happened again. It ended up being the rear pads were binding in the calipers, and I just needed to chamfer off the edge. But it was sort of heart and mouth moment stuff, so not that fun. These last two moments are from the Sanyong race series, where I could probably do a top 100 memorable moments just because there's so much close racing going on. But this probably is the most contentious one, where Christina Orwest and I had a coming together as I tried to pass her around the outside. Unfortunately, she didn't leave that much room for me and ended up turning herself around on the front of my car. Shit happens. This next one, I've actually put a lead in. This is the lap before the moment, where Kirk Stoneman, who I'd probably rate as one of the hardest guys to race against, sort of squeezes me pretty hard on the inside. I figured maybe he just didn't see me, but the following lap it sort of confirmed he was just driving really tight on the corner. This lap he didn't quite make it to the next corner though, turning himself around on the front of my car. There seems to be a common theme here. I don't understand. So here's a bonus clip of Mark and I doing some sign language in the Sanyongs. He let me down earlier in the race in terms of giving me a push, so I gave him one back. But yeah, there's so many more moments that I could post up. But yeah, I've really enjoyed just putting this together. Thanks for watching.